Lemons, but my Jesus, he be making lemonade, lemonade. My Jesus making lemonade, lemonade. I watch my worries wash away, lemonade. It's gonna be okay. I gave me some lemons, but my Jesus, he be making lemonade with that living water. Spirit, Son, Holy Father, never thought he really got us. I guess he just forgot that God works everything for better. No matter what the weather, he knits it all together. Cozier than a sweater. I'm lighter than a feather. Just thinking about the things you've done. You mix the sour with the sweet, and that's the perfect remedy. The love of God has got me clean, no old spies. That desert I was in was deep, so dry.
Hey, did you guys grab one of these? It's the handout for this week. Make sure you grab one. That way you can take notes. And also you can see what verses we're going to be talking about tonight. So grab one of those. They're right back here in the back of the room. Make sure you grab one. All right. Hey, so listen, we are continuing our series called Lemonade. All right. This series, we started this a couple weeks ago. Let's settle in. This series is all about getting through the hard times, the sour times in our lives, okay? 2 weeks ago, we started this series and we talked about how do we go through life when our sourness happens, when the cringeworthiness happens, and how do we get through it? What do we do to get beyond that? Okay, when we think of life going through all of these hard times, we know that life is going to throw us a curveball, right? Life is going to throw us a curveball, and it's going to happen. There's going to be things that are going to happen to you that you do not expect. Okay, that is how do you take lemons and you make it into lemonade? Okay, this is the whole idea. It's like drinking lemonade that doesn't taste normal. Where's Emma? Is Emma in here tonight? Okay, so Emma, 2 weeks ago, she drank lemonade, okay? I use that term very loosely. I just had simple lemonade up here, and I said, okay, Emma, come up here and drink this lemonade. But what I did was I made it 100% lemon extract, so it's extremely strong, all right? So she just thought she was going to drink lemonade, and all of a sudden it wasn't just simple lemonade. Instead, it was very tart. It was very sour to her. And it's the whole idea of what happens when life happens and it's not expected. She expected to have lemonade. She did not just get lemonade. Okay? And so how do we go through that? Lastly, we talked about when life becomes difficult and unexpected, there's one phrase that I want you to remember. And that phrase is, even though I'm going through something, God is still good. God is still good. All right? And like I told you, this may not be our normal response. It may not be something that it is easy for us as we're going through this to say, okay, you know what? This is hard that what I'm going through, but you know what? God is still good. God is still good. And so this is what this series is all about. All right, lastly, we also talked about the fact that God doesn't waste anything. Even your trials, even your frustrations, even the things that you're going to go through that you're like, this isn't fair, God can and will still use it for His glory. But it's just the way that we look at it. What is the perspective and how do we see it from a different perspective, okay? So that's what we talked about 2 weeks ago, and we're going to dive into this series tonight, continue talking about this, but as always, let's go ahead and go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for tonight. God, I thank you for this series, and God, how we can understand and how we can truly come to you in the times that our lives are sour, in the times that we are dealing with stuff that we did not expect in life. And God, I thank you for this reminder that you are still good. God, you still sit on the throne, and you are still the King of Kings, no matter what happens in our lives, that you are still good. And so, God, as we unpack this tonight, I pray that right now that you would open up our minds, open up our ears to be able to hear what you have through me tonight. God, I pray that you would, every word that comes out of my mouth would be only from you. And to God, that every word that I use will be pleasing to your ears. God, we love you. In your name pray. All God's people said, amen. So, guys, as we dive into this tonight, as we think about this idea of going through life, and when we think it's going to happen a certain way, I want to give you an illustration. Okay, we have this idea of, all right, we have a typical balloon. Let's talk about this is the joy of our life, okay? This is the joy of our life. And so let's just talk about some examples of this. All right, the idea of like, okay, maybe you got a really good grade on a test that you've been working really hard to study for. Okay? Maybe you made the basketball team or the soccer team or the sport that you love. Maybe you made it onto the team. Or maybe your team made it to a championship. Maybe you got that significant other that you've been wanting. Maybe that boyfriend or girlfriend that you've been talking about, or you've been like, you know what, hey, like I really want to start dating you. Maybe they finally said yes, all right? Maybe it's a little bit more, maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe your parents, listen, maybe your parents finally got back together after going through counseling, and they're going to reconcile their marriage. This is a joy in your life. All right, these are what happens in life. Is like you look at this, you're saying, okay, here's my joy. Here's my joy in life. This is what I love, and I'm so excited about this. Then all of a sudden, your joy pops. Right? All of a sudden, your joy pops. And what you expected to be exciting, what you expected your life to look like, what you expected was going to be the joy in your life, all of a sudden it just bursts. Okay? What about this? What if you have this idea where you're thinking you have joy in your life, and you're like, okay, I'm excited about this, and you start blowing up your joy. But it doesn't matter. No matter how hard you try to have joy in your life, there's already holes in your balloon. No matter how hard you try to blow this up, there's just little pinholes all through it. And that's from people all around you. That's from your family. That's from your friends. Whenever you have joy, but there's people around you trying to suck your joy away, all of a sudden they start putting little pinholes in your joy. So no matter how hard you try, you will not be able to blow up this balloon. All right, you can try to repair it, but eventually there's going to be a pinhole that's going to pop through, and all of a sudden your joy is going to be gone. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. The idea of how do we get through our joy whenever the balloon is being popped? How do we get through our joy when something around us is catastrophic or something is just heavy on us and we can't get through it? I'm sure some of you probably walked in this room tonight and you can honestly say, I had a horrible day. I had a horrible day. It's your story. I don't know what you would say or why you would have a horrible day, but it's one of those days where you're like, you know what? I just want today to end. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Bad days are never fun, right? And honestly, it's something that, if I'm being truthful, it just plain sucks. It's one of those joys where it's one of those days where I'm like, you know what? I want to find joy in my day, but you know what? Things just keep happening and they keep getting worse and worse. Guys, if I can be honest, this week is retreat week for us, okay? What that means for me as the director is that I'm thinking of 1,000 different things that we have to do for this weekend. I'm thinking of what does the sessions look like? I'm thinking of the safety for you. I'm thinking of, okay, what are we going to eat? Okay, did we plan properly? Do we have enough snacks? Do we have this? Do we have that? This is in our minds. Bella, Lacey, and I, and Cindy have been wrestling through this for weeks, making sure that this weekend is special for you. But I will tell you, every time retreat week happens, I know the enemy is at work. And so what I've told my team is that as we get closer and closer this weekend, please be covering yourselves in prayer. Because the enemy is not going to be happy with what's going to happen this weekend. Because there's going to be lives changed this weekend. And I will tell you that the enemy is angry right now. And so he's going to throw anything he can at us. And so it could just be small little things, little annoyances that are going to hit us. But eventually they just become big things that we're like, I don't know if I can deal with this right now. Today was a crazy day. We were trying to get the printer to work so we could print out the booklets. Wasn't working. We weren't sure if we were going to get a shipment that we had to get in. We weren't sure if it was going to show up. Guys, it's little things like that is like, it's just draining. The reason why I tell you that is because we all have bad days. We all have days that we can look back and say, you know what, this was a hard day. I remember whenever I was 16 years old, I had one particular day that I can tell you that was probably one of the hardest days as a teenager. Okay? First of all, I've told you this before, is I wrestled. And that morning, I didn't make weight. Okay? What that means is I didn't make my weight class. I ate a little too many cheeseburgers. Okay? And so I didn't make weight class. That was frustrating. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was frustrating. Whenever I was driving to my job that day, my car broke down on the highway. All right? So I'm stuck on the highway. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I called my parents and told them, and so they came to help me. But I took my mom's car to work. Whenever I got to work, I walked in and they said, hey, you need to go talk to the manager in the office. I was like, okay. Walked in, they said, hey, you're being written up because you were late. I was like, but my car broke down. They're like, yeah, I don't care. You were supposed to be here and you're 2 hours late, so sorry about your luck. I got written up. Whenever I was driving home that night, I was speeding a little. I wanted to get home. It was a long day. I got pulled over, got a ticket. Got pulled over. I'm like, here we go again. That was hard. I got home. My parents yelled at me. They took my car away because they were so upset with me. Lost my car. I had to ride the bus the next day. That was terrible. Okay? In that same time, I've told you this story before, that same week, I got accused of selling drugs at school. Let me tell you this story. Okay, there's a kid named Scott Eckert. Not Eckenrode, like my name. Eckert, Scott Eckert. Okay, he was selling drugs at school. Lacey, is he one of your relatives?
I don't think
he
so.
may be. But his name was Scott Eckert. And so he was selling drugs. He's Lacey's brother. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He was selling drugs in the locker room. And he got caught. And they sent a letter to my parents telling them that what I had done, quote unquote. So my parents were very upset. They're like, what are you doing? You got a ticket. You were speeding. Now I see this letter that says that now we have to go in and we have to meet with the principal. It turned out the next day, walked in, and he's like, you're not Scott Eckert. I'm like, thank you. Like, I was off the hook. But guys, it was a terrible, terrible day. It was a terrible week. Have you guys ever heard of the book? I like this book. It's called Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Have you guys ever heard that? This is a really good book. Okay? And so as I was writing this message, and as I was going through, I was like, oh, I remember the book. I remember this book, and I'm like, I want to share this book to you. This is about Alexander, and it talks about his day and how he woke up in the morning. First of all, he chewed gum the night before. He woke up in the morning, the gum fell out of his mouth, and it stuck in his hair. Okay, that's how he started the day. Then he went downstairs, and his two brothers, they had a toy and their cereal. He had nothing. All right. And then he went to school, and his best friend decided that he didn't want to be friends anymore, and he wanted to be best friends with his enemy. It's just a whole thing. It's a whole story. And it's a whole idea of he had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Guys, my question for you tonight is, have you been in that boat? Have you been in the boat where you're like, yeah, you know what? I just had a pretty rough day. There's no getting around tough days in our lives. That's life. Do you know that there's a secret, though, that we as Christians have, no matter what we face, and that is the joy that comes through Christ? Does that make it easy in the moment? Does that make it easy in the hard times? It does not, if I'm being honest with you. I've always told you I would be a straight shooter with you, and I would tell you the truth. And I can tell you, even whenever you're going through hard times, it is not easy. It is not easy. but you still have to go through it because it's still hard. Just because you struggle doesn't mean God loves you less or that he trusts you less. Do you understand that? I've heard so many students say, I'm going through a horrible time. My parents have gotten divorced. This happened. I think God's trying to punish me. I need you to understand that that is not the case. We're not judged by that, and God is not up there like a big bully and just picking on you. You need to understand, and you need to have a perspective that God loves you no matter what. And that God still cares about you. You're going to go through a lot of crap in life. But it's whenever you change your perspective and say, you know what, but God is still good, it allows you to change your perspective and say, okay, I'm going to go through horrible times. I know this is going to happen, but God, you're still good. And God, you still love me. Have you ever had anybody in your life that no matter what happens, that they are still praising God? Have you ever had that? Have you ever had somebody in your life that you're like, you know what, I don't know how you're doing this because this just happened, but yet you're still sitting there saying, but God is still good, and I am still thankful, and I'm still praising him, I'm still grateful for what he's done for me, even though something catastrophic has happened? Do you know that? Do you know anybody like that? Do you? I think for me, I automatically think of one person, I've talked about her a lot here on this stage, is Lori Oakley. And I know I've said that many times, but you have to understand, anything that Lori goes through, she can still sit there and say, but God is still good. She's had a family situation happen, and when we talked to her about this a couple months ago, we were going through this whole thing of what happened in her family, and she said, but that's okay, because God's still good. She said, that's okay, because you know what? I know he's going to heal this eventually. Guys, I don't know if you know anybody like that, but for me, I look at Lori and I'm like, man, you're such an inspiration. Because for me, my anxiety goes through the roof. I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, this may happen, this did happen, I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. My bubble starts to pop. I immediately start to stress out. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to turn to your neighbor. I want you to tell someone, if you know somebody that is like that in your life, tell them who it is and tell them a story. Go ahead, go for it. Do you know anybody that is like that in your life? Somebody who always sees joy in everything that they do. All right, bring it back. Do you guys have that? Okay, listen, you guys just talked about this, so what I want you to do is I want you to remember that person throughout the night, okay? I want you to picture that person. Maybe it's your grandma, maybe it's your grandfather, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's your cat, probably not, but maybe it's somebody that you could say, you know what, that person always finds joy. There's no joy in cats, I'm just saying. But it's the point, I'm just being honest, all right? It's the idea, again, that they always find joy in everything that they do. Okay, I want you to think about that person throughout the night, okay? Because they're going to be your inspiration. All right, so my question for tonight. Question for the night. First of all, there we go. One more. Oh, hold on. Okay, question of the night. Does your life reflect the joy of the Lord in the bad moments? That is a serious question. Does your life reflect the joy of the Lord in the bad moments? Does it? What I mean by that, guys, is that as you're going through something, do you truly stop and say, okay, I'm going to be Christ-like? Or are you sitting here and saying, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, and I'm angry, and I'm going to be frustrated? Do you react like the person that you just mentioned? Or do you react not so Christ-like? That's the question. I want to turn to Romans 8:28. Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Okay? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we focused on the first half of this, where it says, we know that God causes everything to work together. Okay, that's what we focused on. This is the idea that even in the hard times, God is still good. He works even the bad stuff for his good, and he wastes nothing. Okay, that is the idea. Whenever we see and we know that God causes everything to work together. That's what he's saying. He wastes nothing. Tonight we're going to focus on the second part of this verse where it says, for the good of those who love God. Okay? That's what we're going to focus on tonight. If you want a good day, find God's goodness in his love. Now again, it's easier said than done. I completely understand that. It's easy to say that whenever you're having a good day, to say, okay, God, I can see you, and I'm grateful that you're here, and I can find the goodness, I can find the love in a good day. But whenever things start to flip, and you're like, oh, okay, no, not so good. My days are not going the way that I want to. Do you still find goodness in his love? Or are you like, you know what? I'm going to fail at this, and I cannot see the love that God has for me right now. Guys, I believe that good comes from God through his love, but it doesn't make it easy. What I want to tell you is that this should give us rest because he is our peacemaker. He truly is our peacemaker. He's the one sitting there saying, okay, I want you to come to me whenever things are bad. I want you to celebrate when they're good, but whenever things are bad, I still want you to come to me. Because I love you, and because I want to help you to get through whatever you're going through. This is the difference between the world and believers in Jesus. You understand that? This is a difference because we see this and we say, we're having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. And we as believers in Jesus can sit here and say, but God is still good. We still believe that he sits on the throne. And so therefore, we're still going to trust in him. That is the difference between the world, because the world sits there and says, you know what? You got to rely on yourself and yourself only. You got yourself in that mess. You can get yourself out. Guys, I truly believe that we have to shift our thinking. I've often thought, how do non-believers get through the struggles of life? Have you thought about that? How do non-believers, how do people that are atheists, how do people that are sitting here saying, you know what, I don't trust God, how do they get through the struggles of life? I've often thought about that because I know whenever I go through something, I know where I go. I know where I turn. But I've often thought about that is, do we find the joy? We find the joy in Jesus, but if they don't have Jesus, how do they find joy? Another verse I want to look at tonight is Psalms 90, 14 and 15. It says, satisfy us each morning with your unfailing love, so that we may sing for joy to the end of our lives. Give us gladness in proportion to our former misery. Replace the evil years with good. Guys, the first part of this is satisfy us each morning with your unfailing love. Despite what the day may look like, have hope because we know that he loves us, because we know that the God of creation loves us. So therefore, we should be able to start every day saying that we know that we are loved unconditionally and that we can put our trust in him. The second part is give us gladness in proportion to our former misery. Whenever Moses wrote this, he was saying that, that there is appropriate joy of what we're facing. If you have a small problem, cover it with small joy moments. If you're facing major problems, cover it with major expressions of gratitude. Okay? That's what he means when he's saying, give us gladness in proportion to our former misery. What he's saying, there's a level there. Whatever your misery is, bring the joy up to that same misery. Or excel it, or exceed it beyond that, and say, but God, you're still good, and I'm still going to glorify you above my misery. When was the last time that you truly did that? When was the last time I truly did that? I can tell you, it's been a long time. Because I immediately want to say, okay, I want to fix it myself. I remember there were times that I have fallen on my knees crying out because of frustration. And it turned into a true worship moment. Guys, I can tell you that there's been times where I did not know what to do anymore. And I felt like I was completely broken. And the only thing I could do is to fall on my knees and say, God, I'm here. And I know you love me. And you have got to help me right now. There is no other place that I can turn other than you. In those moments, I had no choice but to be broken and know that God was the only one that could fix me. He was the only one that I could turn to. So how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we find joy even when the day, when the week, the month, the year feels like it's draining the life out of us? How do we do that? It starts with it starts with a complete surrender to the situation. Whatever you're going through, when you're going through a hard day, when you're going through a hard moment, do you stop and say, God, I'm giving this over to you? Or do you sit there and say, no, you know what? I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna try to carry it all myself. You know what? It's okay. And even though I dropped something, it's okay. I'm still just going to hold on to it myself. Or do you say, you know what, God, I can't do this. I can't hold on to this. Whenever I'm having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, God, I'm giving it to you and I'm just going to let it into your hands because I don't know what else to do. What is your response? 9 chances out of 10, we like to pick it up and carry it ourselves. Instead of saying, God, we're going to give it over to you. So, again, do you find joy in the chaos? It starts with complete surrender of that situation. God won't give you peace unless you trust that his peace is good. Did you hear that? God won't give you peace unless you trust that his peace is good. The only way to experience his love in the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad days is to understand that God loves you and truly wants the best for you. Guys, that is the only way you can do this. You have to truly say, okay, God, I'm just going to give this over to you and understand and believe that he is going to help you. But it has to be a complete surrender. He will not force joy on you, and he will not force his love on you. He is a gentleman. I've told you that time and time again. God is a gentleman, and he's not going to force that. If you want to deal with it with yourself, have at it. Good luck. But if you're at the point where you're like, I don't know what else to do, and God, I'm going to give this over to you, then do it. And understand that I'm going to let the junk here, and I'm going to walk this way, knowing that God still has that. When you have a terrible day, when your friends are not being very nice to you, when you didn't do well on a test, when you didn't make that team that you wanted, and there's all kinds of things that are just coming down on you, say, okay, God, you're still good. I'm going to let this here, and I'm just going to keep walking because I know you have it. That's where we have to start changing our perspective. 1 John 4:7-8. It says, dear friends, let us continue to love one another. For love comes from God. Do you hear that? For love comes from God. Anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God. But anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Guys, it's a whole idea is if you're truly going to look at God, you have to understand that he loves you and that he wants the best for you. John 4:16, it says, we know how much God loves us and have put our trust in his love. Over and over again, the scriptures say that God is love. Over and over again, it says that we need to turn to Him, and because He loves us so much that He wants to help us get through that stuff. Guys, but also I have to tell you that loving others is one of the hardest things that we can do, but also God is telling us that we're supposed to love each other. Why is that important? Because if God's going to love us, then we need to be able to share that with other people and say, okay, I know that you screwed up. I know that you messed up. I know that you did something to me, and I'm going to choose to love you through the difficulty. I'm going to choose to love you because God is still loving me, and God's still helping me get through all the trials and all the headaches that I have to get through. God calls us to love one another. In the days that are terrible, how would they look if you loved your neighbor? If you loved the people around you? Because chances are that people around you is what's causing your headache, right? People around you is what's causing your stress. Maybe you're having a horrible day, and that came from your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Maybe it came from your brother, your sister. Maybe it came from your parents. Maybe it came from your teacher. Guys, this is where I say again, change your perspective and start looking at people and saying, but I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to trust you. I'm still going to believe in you because God is doing that for me. Guys, you have to have a heart change. You have to. Days are messy because we believe that we're entitled. Do you understand that? That's a whole nother thing whenever we look at our lives and we say, okay, God, we're entitled for you to love me. We're entitled to have a good day. We're entitled to have a good week. And so why aren't you doing that? We immediately think that we're entitled to everything. But guys, what I want you to know is there's one phrase here. Our entitlement will eventually clash with our neighbor's entitlement, causing a terrible, no good day. Guys, you have terrible days because people around you may be having a terrible day. Maybe people around you are accusing you of something, or there's something happening in your lives. Guys, that's never, we can sit there and we can say, okay, my entitlement and their entitlement, all of a sudden they're going to clash at some point. And so what are you going to do? How are you going to get through that? Guys, again, this is where I tell you that the love of God has to come through with your actions and with your response. What I mean by that is, are you going to respond to God and say, God, I'm giving this over to you. I'm going to trust you. And then you're going to say, okay, but I'm also going to go to my neighbor. I'm going to tell them, okay, I still love you. I'm going to forgive you for what you've done to me. I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to believe the best in you. Guys, if you're going to go to God and you're going to ask for that, this is where we need to go to each other and ask for the same thing. Guys, because we're all screwed up people. So again, I'm going to ask you, how do we do this? Here's my challenge for tonight. First of all, have you experienced a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day? Over the last week, over the last month, over the last year? Can you sit here and say, okay, you know what? I've experienced that. I've experienced a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I was like Alexander. Have you experienced that? Do you believe that God is bigger than your worst of days and that He wants to make it better for you? He wants to make it better for you tomorrow. He wants to make it better for you next week. But do you understand that? Do you believe that? Once you trust that He wants better for you, stop, breathe, and find Him in the moment. What I mean by that, guys, is as you're going through the hard day, do you stop and say, God, where are you? Where are you right now? And I want to experience you. I want to see that you're in this. Do you stop and take a moment and say, God, where is your love? Because I guarantee you, if you would do that, you would have a different perspective. You would have a heart change, and God would speak into your day. He would speak into your moment, whatever you're dealing with. But do you give him an opportunity? Do you shut up enough to allow him to do that? Guys, if I'm being honest with you, what happens is the world around us is constantly talking and is constantly this chaos. We're going to talk about that this weekend. And how do we stop, breathe, and find the moments that God has for us? It takes complete surrender of your own abilities to make the situation better. Give it over to the one who loves you enough to make it better. Give it over to him. Understand that even horrible days still have a cycle. And the better days are coming if you believe he loves you and wants the best for you. Do you believe that? There's a cycle. Guys, I've told you this from the stage before, is that you may have a terrible day and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. God, this is a terrible week. This is a terrible day. This is the worst thing. It's going to ruin my life. And then what happens is 2 weeks later, you're like, wait, what was that? What was it that I was dealing with? Oh, because there's something new in front of me. That's right. I forgot about that thing that happened a month ago. I forgot about that thing that happened a week ago or even yesterday because now I have a new problem in front of me. Believe that he loves you and that he wants the best for you. Guys, this is where, again, we have to change our perspective. We have to change our perspective. So, here's what I want to do tonight. I'm going to put on some reflective music. And what I want you to do is I want you to stop and I want you to think about being in his presence, taking a moment to stop, to breathe, and to find him in the moment that you may be dealing with, that you may have dealt with, or maybe that you're going to deal with. Maybe you have something big that's going to be happening tomorrow that you have to address. Maybe it's something big next week that you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Do you see God in those moments? What I want you to do is I want you to stop. I want you to breathe. I'm going to stop talking. And I truly want you to be in his presence. I want you to take a moment to think through those situations. Be at the feet of Jesus. Say, Jesus, where are you? I know you love me. Speak through this situation. Next thing I want to challenge you with is when you're looking at the days and you're looking at tomorrow I have to deal with this or the next day I have to deal with that, start your day visualizing being at his feet. Visualize being at the feet of Jesus and saying, okay, Jesus, right now I've got to address this. And I want you to walk before me today and I want you to help me to get through this. I believe that you love me. I believe that you are the King of Kings. And so, Jesus, right now, I'm going to ask you to please walk with me today. Help me through this situation. Trust him. Trust that he loves you more than the situation you're going through. Trust him that he cares for you. He's already ahead of you. He's already walked through that situation. Give it over to the God of creation. God, I thank you tonight for this reminder that you are love. That God, that you care for us far greater than we even care for ourselves. God, that you want to help us be able to get through our hard days. Whenever our balloon is popped, whenever we have no joy, when we can't find the happiness in our life, that God, that you are still there and you're still speaking into our day, and you're still there and you're walking ahead of us saying, I still love you and I'm going to help you. But God, you are a gentleman. God, I pray that these students and leaders would know that tonight, that they could still turn to you. They should turn to you and say, okay, God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to come and I'm going to lay before you and I'm going to ask you to be part of my day. God, I thank you so much for that reminder tonight. God, I pray that as we go through the next coming days and weeks and months, that God, that you would just remind us that you are love and that you are still good despite our problems, despite the obstacles that we have in our lives. God, I pray that that would be a daily reminder for us. In your name, pray. Amen. Guys, we're going to do some worship. And I want you to continue to reflect this, all right? As we worship, if this is you, if you're like, you know what, I really just want to spend some more time with the Lord, go over and sit in this corner. Go sit in the back. I don't care. If you just want to kneel down and you want to be on the floor, do that. If you want to sit at your seat, do that. I don't care. God doesn't care. He just wants to be in your presence. And so what I'm going to challenge you tonight with is, as we go through worship, is truly just stop and reflect on what the struggles are in life. Maybe you just need to pray about something. Maybe you need to pray and just say, God, I need you. I need to see you in this situation. This is your time. I want you to understand that worship is not it's not a self-reflection. It's not something where you should be just focused on yourself. When you're worshiping, your worship should be truly on the God of creation. It should not be making fun of people that are standing beside you. It should not be picking on people that are beside you. It should not be interrupting people that are truly trying to worship the Lord. Worship should be a true expression to the God of creation. And so you should be taking that time and saying, this is how I'm going to worship him. Because he is love. Because he is good. And so I'm going to worship him with all of my heart. Guys, that is what worship should be about. It is not about how I can be funny or how I can joke around or push people or